You remember Spock and Kirk
Oh, yeah.
in Star Trek?
Right.
They're groups of women who write stories about them with the twist that Spock and Kirk were gay. They're stories about them traveling throughout the universe and exploring their gay relationship. And anthropologist Don Simons, who's written a book about it, tells us the story of these group of women.
Slash fiction is a kind of romance fiction that is written by and for heterosexual women, in which the two lovers are both men. And for it to be true slash, the male pairing has to be expropriated from some kind of media. So, and that's where slash started, actually. It started in the 1970s with women trekkers starting to write fiction, their own fiction, about Kirk and Spock, in which the notion was that Kirk and Spock become lovers. And the word slash refers to the punctuation mark that separates their names. So Kirk Spock slash is Kirk slash Spock, or K slash S. Here's an example of something that seemed to me really bizarre, that I had no explanation for it. And it wasn't something that one woman or two women did. Once it started, once the ball got rolling, really women fans of virtually every cop and spy and sci-fi and adventure series that had two buddies, the women fans would start to write slash. So for women to write slash, they have to be fans of the show, and they have to find at least one of the pair attractive, and then they write slash from the point of view of the other one. And anyway, you have lots of women doing this. You have this large international community of women who are reading and writing slash. If you put slash in any search engine, you get hundreds and hundreds of sites with just every possible kinds of pairing. There's Holmes and Watson slash. I was intensely curious about it when I discovered it, because I couldn't see of any reason why any woman would ever want to read or write slash. My take on it was that,
Given that you've written a book,
Yeah.
so you obviously got from dumbfounded to insight.
well, I figured that there's more in female sexuality than was dreamt of in my philosophy, and I wanted to find out what aspect of female sexuality managed to stay under my radar all those years. And one of the things that struck me first about them was that they're really not that different from mainstream women's romances, that many of the same characteristics come up again and again. It's actually fascinating. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. When I first started reading it, things just jumped out at me. One is that it was clear to me in some kind of psychological sense that in these long descriptions, usually of anal intercourse, that the basic fantasy wasn't anal intercourse. The basic fantasy, I believe, was vaginal intercourse, but it was played out on male bodies. And in fact, if you go back to the very early days of slash, when these women trekkers were the only slash writers, they were making all kinds of mistakes. They would have anal intercourse would be conducted without any lubricant, and multiple orgasms, simultaneous orgasms, things that weren't really likely to happen in male-male sex. And then when these things were pointed out to them, they read The Joy of Gay Sex, and they became sophisticated, and they started writing much more realistic sex scenes. And so a tube of lubricant would just happen to be in a bedside table when it was needed, and so forth. But if you read it, it seems clear to me that the underlying psychology is still the same.
And that appeals to prototype female interest?
Romance heroes, whether they're of mainstream romances or slash fiction, are in a sense warriors. They may not literally be warriors, but they have the qualities of successful warriors, and they have the qualities that our female ancestors would have admired in a male throughout the long course of human evolutionary history. So what happens in a mainstream romance is that the heroine overcomes all of these obstacles and eventually captures and marries this superb Mr. Warrior. The slash fantasy is not of being Mrs. Warrior, it's being a co-warrior. It's having shared adventure, risk-taking, danger, but also this permanent monogamous union. And that's a key element that is always emphasized and slashed, that this is monogamous and it's nothing like real gay male sex is.
We end it with this another short play called Bed Knobs and Notch Chicks, which is the story of 4 different women who've had sex with the same guy and trying to figure out what they have in common and why the various choices were made for them. And it has kind of a surprise ending.
So, what are you in here for?
I don't even know yet.
Well, obviously you had sex with Luke, otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Leave her alone, Alice. I still haven't figured out how you could have made
Are
it.
you still up on your pedestal, Teresa?
Shut up! When did he ever see you anyway?
Girls, we can't still be arguing about stuff like this. We must put aside our differences. I'm Susie.
You're Susie?
So you've heard about me.
Haven't we all?
Well, it's nice to meet you, Susie. I've heard very nice things about you.
Yeah. Everyone hears nice things about Susie. Maybe it's easy for you to say to put aside our differences, but that's because you know why you're here. He actually loved you.
Well, it helps to be the first. Whatever. I mean, he was too young to know what love was, okay? He was more in love with the idea of making love than he was capable of it. Don't try to belittle what we had.
Oh, yeah?
If you were so special, why'd he sleep with me a couple weeks after you guys broke up, huh?
We've already established that you were just some pathetic, drunken rebound.
Sex is sex, okay? You two need to grow up.
I didn't realize the list was this long. So you all have slept with him?
Yeah. So you don't know why you're here? You were kind of hoping you'd be able to clear up this little misunderstanding we've been having.
Oh, no.
It is not a misunderstanding.
How could I have slept with someone who slept with you?
Get over yourself!
Oh no. Did you think that you were something special?
Especially when you were getting.
Hey!
Anyways. So what's your name?
Oh, Laura.
Did Luke sleep with you because he loved you?
I don't think so.
I knew it.
Then why'd you sleep with him?
Curiosity, maybe?
So it wasn't for love? No, I told you. Sex is sex. Don't make it something it's not.
But I thought he loved me.
And that's why you girls get hurt. Okay, don't get pissed off with me because you have delusions about the men you sleep with.
It doesn't seem like we have very much in common.
I guess not. He's changed. Do you know why he slept with you?
I guess we were just lonely and we seemed comfortable enough. I just didn't think about ending up here.
Great. I wonder who's gonna end up here next.
Experimentation.
Well, we also want to address the subject of sex and religion. I mean, all major religions have something to say about sex. Oftentimes not particularly positive. You know, you get the hell and damnation and fire and brimstone kind of stuff, and we wanted to avoid that. So we were looking for, you know, a real inspiring kind of story. We believe we found one in a United Methodist minister. His name's John Griffin. It's a fascinating story.
I always knew about this little church on the corner here in West Hollywood, and always kind of wished that I could be there, because I really thought a lot could happen. But I kind of got shipped around. I spent a year in Long Beach and 2 years in Huntington Beach, both times as associates.
In traditional churches?
United Methodist churches, yeah. Long Beach First, United Methodist, and Huntington Beach Community. And I didn't make a very good associate. I don't particularly like the dress up. I kind of like and plus I kept introducing the whole issue of gay and lesbian issues and AIDS issues. And in any case, I ended up then in San Diego for 6 years in a little church on the border of Mexico. And, but always knocking on my supervisor's door saying, what about Crescent Heights in West Hollywood? And it just always seemed out of reach for whatever reasons. And in 1998, I was diagnosed with AIDS. And then the following year, in '99, having not died, I went to the bishop. I had gone to the bishop in '98 and told him that I was positive, and informed him that I would not be silent. Whereas the church will kick you out if you tell the bishop that you're gay, gay and practicing.
Avowed.
Avowed, that's the avowed.
I'm learning that.
Avowed is telling the bishop. Practicing is saying that I'm sexually engaged in a homosexual lifestyle. However, the church cannot discriminate against persons with handicapping conditions, including HIV. So I figured I was fairly safe. So I went to the bishop, I should say, in '98 and informed him that I was positive. He was cool with that, and said a little prayer for me, which was wonderful. And I informed him that I was not going to be silent about this issue. There had been other clergy in our conference who had AIDS, who kept it a secret, and then eventually went on disability and then died, and left many people kind of in the dark about what had happened, and some people angry that they had been left out of these people's lives. In any case, I didn't want to do that. So it was my opportunity to be open in a way that perhaps I never could be. And so I gathered my little congregation together and told them, and was quite well accepted. And it was an amazing act of grace on their part, because it was a congregation of many children and families, and you know, they just didn't flinch. And I had Kaposi sarcoma, little purple spots all over me, and it just, their love was constant. Well, the year passed and I didn't die. I didn't know if I would die, but you know, always wonders what's going to happen. And I decided that this would be a good strategic move. So I knocked on the door of the bishop again and informed him that all was well, the KS was gone essentially, and medicines were working, and I had been at this church for 6 years, and I know it's not the practice, in fact it's not the practice at all for a clergy to tell a bishop where he or she wants to go. And he said, well, where do you want to go? And I said, I really, really think I could do something at Crescent Heights. And he listened to my argument, my interest in theater, and my interest in the entertainment community, my belief that in this community a pastor who has AIDS makes a certain statement about our view towards persons with AIDS, that we don't view persons with AIDS as somehow victims, and you know, but rather we believe in empowering all people. And so here I am.